Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Paul Del Pozo here with Team PropStream. And today we're going to kick off a video series with professionals in the real estate industry. And today I happen to have my good friend, Don Costa, and we're going to have a conversation with Don, really kind of understand what kind of real estate investor he is, maybe learn a little bit about his business and see what Don's doing today in the current landscape. So without further ado, Don, welcome to our little hour here on the PropStream channel. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. How are you? I appreciate you having me on for sure.
I'm good, man. Just finding our way during these odd times, and I really appreciate you spending some time here talking with me. You and I go back a while now, and I'm very familiar with your background and kind of the ups and downs that you've had over the course of your career. And you've been like a guiding light to me in my business as I've developed my business over the years, because the things that you've talked about, either in public or conversations we've had. I think the experience from someone like yourself that's been in the business for the years that you've been in, I think now more than ever, hearing from someone like yourself is really valuable to our audience or anybody checking out this episode. I wondered if you could kind of explain, how you got into real estate and when about that was.
So I got into real estate in 2003, 17 years ago, which makes me old. Obviously, I started when I was about 30. And I started back when the market was kind of on a run. Everybody remembers 2003, 2004, 2005. You could basically throw a rock at a house and make money. And so I started at a time when there was a tremendous amount of competition in the market, but I was super, super naive and didn't realize it. And I became very successful very quick at it. I was door knocking, pre-foreclosures is kind of how I got started, doing subject twos and raising private money to finance the difference in the transaction between rehab and paying sellers their money and whatnot, and just had a good time doing it.
What was that initial, have you been able to kind of figure out that initial point where real estate became an idea, or that little seed that first planted in your head that maybe this was the area that you wanted to start scratching into?
Yeah, so I think we're all built different, those of us who are in the game, right? There are people who utilize real estate, they love their job, or they like what they do, and they utilize real estate as an investment vehicle to either make extra capital through fix and flip and wholesale, or to cash flow. But then there are those of us who are just entrepreneurial by nature, and I'm the one that's entrepreneurial by nature. I always wanted my own business. I never fit in a box. You could put me on a clock and I would count the minutes. I'll work twice as hard and twice as long when I don't have a clock, basically holding me accountable. So I just needed that freedom. And so being an entrepreneur was my thing. I started a couple different businesses. Some were successful, some of them weren't. Real estate was always on my radar as an opportunity or an option. I think, like most people, I had it in my head that you had to have experience or money or all these things to get started. And so I probably circled real estate for a good 5 years or so at least before I even started, to really take it seriously. In fact, I put a property in contract back in like 1996, I think was the first property I put in contract. And I didn't even know what wholesale was. So I put it in contract. I tried to find somebody to back me on it. I want to say like 22 or 23. I didn't know anything. There wasn't internet, there wasn't YouTube, and I couldn't find somebody to back me on it. I ended up letting it go. And I had it in contract for 21 grand. This is up in Oregon. And somebody turned around and bought it a week later for 28. And if I'd have known what wholesaling was back then, I could have made, 7 grand, but I didn't. And so I had little, like, put my foot in and put my foot out type of thing. But in 2003, that's when I kind of, I had a few things fall into line, and I hit the ground running and realized I was good at making deals happen. And it was just kind of on from there.
Let's go back to that first deal. So that first deal, right? You came across that first deal. How did that happen? Was it an accident, referral, something you saw? I'm always interested in that first moment. What's
The one that
like?
didn't happen?
The one that didn't happen.
So I was bartending. My mom lived up in Oregon. I moved from California to Oregon, and I lived there for a couple of years. And I was bartending in a little, basically dive bar restaurant in a little town called Drain, Oregon, up in the middle of nowhere, about 45 minutes south of Eugene, Oregon. And there was a real estate agent that would come in every day for happy hour. I had my regulars that came in on a regular basis, and there was a realtor in town. I always tell him, I want to get into real estate. I want to do this. I want to do that. And he actually brought that property to me as an option, as an opportunity. And like I said, I didn't have the tools the experience of tools to really put two and two together on it. And, I'm not the brightest guy in the world either. I'm not going to lie. So, I just, things didn't align for me. That's the thing that frustrates me right now, but I'm not going to lie. PropStream and YouTube and Facebook and podcasts. It's like people now they're like, well, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, you have so many resources at your disposal with data and information. And you can comp with PropStream, right? If you utilize it right. You learn from YouTube University. There's Facebook Lives constantly, people giving away content. There's dozens and dozens of podcasts, like all the information you need is like at your fingertips. There's literally no excuse. Like I got a property locked up way back when I had all the excuses in the world. Granted, it didn't transpire to anything, but I had all the excuses in the world.
I'm writing right here, no excuses. I don't know if you can see
Yeah.
that, but I mean, literally that's that's what it comes down to, right? And I think that's, the filter you have to adjust as you progress, whether you're on that first deal or whether you're trying to build your business or scale that business up, wherever that is, right? Really just pushing through and no excuses, man. I mean, I love that, my background and where I come from, and really just kind of being able to dial it in when it's needed, right? Like obviously on your first deal, it's trying to figure out with the tools that you do have, how can you make that happen? You and I have talked about my first deal in the past about that door knocking and going out there and getting a list. But yeah, I mean, like you said, there's so many tools now at your fingertips, and there really is no excuse, make it happen. Right. And I think now with where we are, having to work from inside for a little bit, start learning some of the tools like ours or, whatever else is out there, and catch some episodes and podcasts out there, and just smarten up as we march forward. Don, what's your business look like now? What have you been able to build it up to now? What's it look like?
Yeah, I mean, now we're rehabbing and wholesaling. We've been known to do 100 to 200 transactions a year, and during various years. Now this year we've always been really heavy rehab. This year we're actually becoming more and more wholesale heavy, going into the end of 2019 and the beginning of 2020, which actually, speaking of what the market's doing right now with COVID-19 has been a saving grace for us, because coming into this, there was a point where we had 65 properties in some sort of flux, for rehab. They were either coming into the process or being rehabbed or on the market or going through some kind of repair request. And that was like going into 2018, going into 2019, the first handful of months of 2019, like we were at the busiest we'd ever been. And we had kind of dialed it back because we wanted to get some systems and processes in order. And so coming into 2019, 2020, we have really started to get more wholesale heavy. And believe it or not, that's like, we don't have a ton of rehab projects, and that's saving us right now, especially when California is starting to lock down construction. Like I'm like, thank God. Because I was starting to beat myself up. Yeah. By accident, not by genius, by accident. But so we've been in a good spot, but we're rehabbers. I've been a rehabber since day one. That's what I know. It's what I understand, and took on wholesaling in 2018, and I've enjoyed the wholesaling, drank the Kool-Aid there. So I mean,
yeah, it's been interesting to watch your transition over the years from being, I guess, mainly a rehab shop to, becoming more of a marketing, wholesaling business. So, I mean, I've definitely seen that evolution there for you. Obviously you're considered a high volume, a business operation. I think a lot of people that are either getting into the business or, just handling a deal or two a month hear 100, 200 deals a year, and it blows their mind. What do you consider the most important aspect to get to that scale? Is it really just focusing on business development? Is it marketing? Is it how do you get to be there? And is that what everybody needs to strive for? Like, I know some people get shocked by that. So I wondered what you thought there.
Well, let me go backwards on those questions. So does everybody need to strive for that? The answer is no. You need to build what's right for you. There's a lot of complexities that go with doing a high volume business. There's a lot of moving parts, and I've gotten the opportunity to look inside and coach a lot of high volume businesses, and I can tell you that there are a lot of people that have scaled or are scaling high volume that aren't making any more money when it's all said and done than they would have if they were just done a handful of deals a year. So I think if you're going to scale, you need to build the right business. And a lot of that comes down to fundamentals. It comes down to fundamentals, practicing the fundamentals, not chasing shiny objects. being real about your situation, making the proper investments, making sure you're properly capitalized. If you're going to go that route, the hardest part of scaling by far is people. That's the fundamental, wild card for any business out there is people, and whether or not you're going to be successful at scale. And that's been a challenge in our organization. We have practices for hiring, we have practices for training and retaining, but it's still like, you're digging a lot of dirt to get the gold. So people are the wild card. You got to be good at leading. You got to be good at coaching your team and stuff like that. And everything else will fall into place, I think, if you have the right people. The systems, the processes. Those are all the sexy terms, right? I have systems and this and that, but those will all start to fall into place if you can get the right people in house.
Right. And, I would throw in there really kind of developing the business for you, right? Like what kind of business, what's the
Yeah.
vision that you see? Super involvement, more removed, large team, small team. I think these are all things you start to realize as you go down your path.
Mhm.
Early in your career, you're not sure. You don't know what you don't know, right? So you start to kind of go down that path and you start realizing, okay, maybe I want this or that. I think, connecting with various people out there in the market, with different business models and really kind of hearing what they're all about is helpful. Certainly was helpful to me to really kind of understand where I wanted to go and how I wanted to create where my business would go. That's great, Don. So, Don, compared to, because you went through '08, the last
Mhm.
market correction, compared to '08 to now, are there any similarities? Is there anything maybe that you could share with us that would be helpful to keep in mind as we're going through this, transition period right now? What would you say to this COVID-19 season that we're going through right now?
Well, okay. So as far as similarities go, the only similarity that I am seeing kind of consistently is uncertainty. That is, there was uncertainty in 2008, and there's uncertainty now, and that's really the one consistent thing that I see. 2008 was a different animal. There were a lot of things that, from fraud to just excess to so many different things that led to 2008. Horrible lending practices, people just not being, I guess, good stewards of their own financial situations. There were a lot of things that led to 2008 that aren't the things that led to obviously COVID-19. So in 2008, you could see there were indicators, there were things happening in the economy. Lending stopped, which threw the brakes on a lot of what was going on. People pulling money out of their houses to finance their lifestyle. That all came to an end, and suddenly people didn't have money to pay their bills because they couldn't pull money out of their houses because lending stopped. So you could see the cause of it, and you could see it unravel, and you can kind of see the progression on the way down. And there's a lot of explanation for why things happened the way they did. In this situation is different, and I don't care who you talk to, and I may be the only one that will say it out loud, but nobody knows. Like, the communication is changing every single day. We don't know where the end of this is going to be. We don't know if it's going to be something that's going to come back around, later in months. We don't know if it's something that's going to disappear tomorrow or last for 6 months. We just don't know. And as positive as we want to be, we got to be real about the fact that we don't know the facts, because you need to make decisions from fact and not fear. Admitting that you don't know the answer now gives you some place to start from. Okay, well, if I don't know the answer, what's the worst case scenario? What's the best case scenario? And let's go to work on preparing for the worst and hoping for the best.
Right.
And I just think that's important right now. 2 weeks ago, I was saying, prepare for the worst and hope for the best. And people were like, no, you're crazy. Everything's going, this state and this state's just running 100 miles an hour. And now look what's happening as it unfolds. So I'm not saying this to scare anybody in any way, shape, or form. I don't think that people should be overly scared, as far as this is going to create opportunity. This is going to open doors. This is going to clear the market of competition. There's so many things that are going to happen from this, but there is uncertainty right now, and you need to get your house in order. Yeah, I think more so than ever, go through your bills and make sure that do you have a gym membership that you never go to? I know that's sacrilegious for all, right? But gym membership, I was paying for Fit Republic or something like that, $15 a month. I never went because I was going to GB3 instead. And but $15 a month isn't enough for me to get a wild hair and cancel it, right? So,
Right.
but you need to be going through your bank account and then canceling those things you're not using. And the same thing with your business, and get your house in order, because in 2008 you could see the decline. Like right now, it's just pent up. We don't know if there's going to be decline or demand. And so we got to get our house in order to see. There's two options when this thing is all said and done. Either there's going to be so much pent up demand that we're going to go crazy on a crazy run, or the latter, which is probably more likely true. There's going to be so much money that's basically been sucked out of the economy, and there's so much fear and fear and anxiety drives the herd mentality, and that herd mentality is going to keep things slow for a while, at least, if not make them decline a little bit. And it's one or the other, and we don't know. And it's better to prepare for the worst and hope for the best than to bet for the best and get caught with your pants down.
So for folks that, have been marketing, whatever marketing channel that may be, whether you're an individual or business with, 15 reps calling and texting and all the normal. I mean, what do you think is a sound advice right now? I mean, do they let up? Do they focus? Do they hyper focus more on a more specific area? Because
Right.
what I'm hearing from you is, you should tighten up, look for areas that should be tightened up, which I think is just good,
Mhm.
sound business advice. Anyway,
Right.
you should always, maybe even quarterly, monthly, look at, expenses that aren't needed, but maybe more so now. But outside of that, on the marketing front, I've gotten this question in the last couple of weeks. Paul, what do you suggest? Should we apply more gas into the engine, or hold up, or what? So I think that's a question that a lot of folks are kind of facing right now. What are your thoughts on that, man?
I think you should look at what your business is doing and what your area is doing. And first, foremost, like for instance, in California, the week that we got stay-at-home order, our marketing tanked, and it's since rebounded. So if you're in one of the areas like Texas or Arizona that and this is going to release probably a few days or a week later, right? I think this is April 1st that we're recording this. But if you're in a market where, like right now, you're getting a stay-at-home order, then your mail hitting in the next day or two is probably not a good idea. Your marketing in the next day or two is probably not a good idea. Once your market's kind of digested that information, then yes, continue marketing. I look, I'm not somebody that says stop everything, stop marketing, but I am somebody that says go through your marketing channels and see what was a luxury and what was, producing good ROI, and then focus on what was producing good ROI, and then watch what your market's doing and watching the data. The data is more important now than ever. If you're not tracking your KPIs, you're not seeing what results you're getting, and you're not being honest with yourself, then you're just throwing money away. So look at what has generally produced for you the most successfully, and that's where I would deploy my dollars. For me, it's been direct mail. I'm going to continue doing. If cold calling was your route, then cold calling you should continue doing, and continue to watch your results. If you are not getting results in that channel or in your particular market, sellers are just like, hey, we're not doing anything right now, then maybe you need to pull back for a little bit. The other thing is you need to look, I'm going to be the other one that says this. You need to look at your financial situation. If you are in a good spot to continue marketing, then continue marketing at whatever level you feel comfortable with. If you are not, you need to be real with that. And so what I don't want to say stop marketing, but maybe stop some of the stuff that's draining you, right?
Right.
And start getting back to driving for dollars, and maybe doing something that's a little less inexpensive, like cold calling yourself. If you're a direct mail person, and direct mail is going to drain you right now because you weren't
Right.
in a good cash position, then get on the phone and start cold calling. Start text messaging, start finding some of these less expensive alternatives. Don't stop, but get real about what your options are, because again, we don't know how it's going to flesh out. We don't know what in buyers are going to do on the back end. We don't know what sellers are going to do. I've had some deals go south recently because I've had some buyers back out, and I got in the next week I probably got another, well, this is a couple $100,000 in potential assignments that I don't know if that money's going to be there. And so I'm in a good financial position. I'm going to continue doing what I do. But if I wasn't, then I would have to look at, okay, let's go back to my roots: networking, cold calling, reaching out to agents, MLS. What are my options? And so don't stop, but be real about what your options are. And I hope that's
Yeah,
That's
no, I mean,
fair.
that's amazing stuff, man. I mean, really like reading the market and
Mhm.
understanding the conditions in your local market, right? I mean, and being hyper aware, is what I'm hearing from you. Really just understanding what's going on, seeing what's going on. Don't sit back, really stay focused and keep your eyes open. I think, and being realistic, right, to what your expenditures are, your personal expenditures, and really just being a smart leader, smart business leader, I think is now more important than ever, right? I think you would say, man. I mean, this wisdom that you're sharing, man. It comes from the experience and the time, and it's amazing. I mean, it's invaluable, I think, in my opinion, to hear someone that's been through the different cycles. So, man, I really appreciate you, sharing this with us and giving it to us kind of raw and honest, because I think that has the most impact right now. We need to know what is happening, what are people of experience doing, and what can we learn from that. So I really appreciate you, spending the time with me. How can people get a hold of you, Don?
They can find me at donatfliptalk.com. I obviously have a podcast called Flip Talk. They can find me there, Instagram at the real Don Costa. I'm all over Facebook. And I'm doing a roundtable series where we're going to have, different guests on that have been through the market, what we're doing now, what we're changing. It's not going to be necessarily a podcast out on iTunes. You have to sign up for it. If you go to fliptalk.com/navigate, you can sign up and you'll get the recordings and see the future live shows as well. So
Man, that's great. Well, audience, everybody checking this out, I suggest you listen to what Don has to say. He knows, he's been there, he's been through it, he's working through it right now. And man, thanks again. Thank you so much for spending time with us. And everybody, check us out here at PropStream. We'll have more episodes as we march through this and through this month and onto the year. Thank you for spending some time with us, and be safe and prosper, guys.